my brake lights.
Ain't turning back. Now that I'm back on track, yeah. Take my word from it. Put a couple bands on it. And I don't plan on letting people turn me. No. You can say what you want. I'ma keep pressing on. I can't go about that daylight. I'm getting green right. Talking to my past life. Focus on my brake lights.
Hello, our wonderful people. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing great. How are you ladies doing?
Great.
Tony the Tiger?
Great.
Oh my goodness. I hope you guys are doing good, enjoying yourselves, enjoying your family, enjoying this hour. That you're going to be here with us.
I know, it's breaking the silence.
All right?
You already know what time it is.
But you know, we probably do have some first-time viewers, so we want to introduce ourselves really quick. Welcome, yes, welcome. Bienvenido, bienvenida. My name is Nori.
I'm Francisca.
And I'm Angelique.
And you are tuned into Breaking the Silence. Today we are going to have a full show. Very good show, so I want you guys to be glued onto your screen for this next hour. We do have a special guest today here on the show, but before we get to her, we do have our question of the day. Let's pull that up for you. The question of the day is, what dream or goal did you press pause on this year? And how are you feeling about picking it back up in 2025? So one of the goals that I put a pause on this year.
Let's pause on you.
Pause. Okay, did you pause?
Paused me.
She paused.
They don't want me to answer.
We need to pause her.
No problem.
She's paused.
We want to hear from you guys, okay? We do have our QR code, which you can be able to scan. You can scan it and let us know what was that goal or that dream that you pressed pause on this year, but you want to pick back up. There goes our QR code. You can be able to scan it. It's going to take you to our page, and you can drop your comments there as well, all right? So we want to hear from you guys. Make sure you send in those comments. And we are also going to be exploring the world today.
Yes, we are.
You ready to know
I'm ready.
Where are we going to explore?
I'm
not going to tell you now.
Oh,
and I'm not going to tell you how
you got to stay tuned.
You got to stay tuned. Okay, you see how
She
I got
got you
tongue-tied
on
there
that
real
one.
quick. But anyways. And we do have our special guest. Her name is Shavona Warmington. She is the founder and CEO of Ladies of Lavender. Hello, Shavona. We are so happy and excited to be speaking with you in just a few. All right, so I want you guys to go get your coffee, tea, snack, whatever it is that you need, and then come right back. Because after this break, we are definitely going to be exploring the world. All right.
The show isn't over yet. Don't change the channel. We will be right back with more Breaking the Silence.
Life gets busy, and sometimes you miss your favorite show. But for all of you fans of the Breaking the Silence program, we've got you covered. Introducing watch.ulfn.org/Breaking the Silence. It's your go-to destination to catch up on all the Breaking the Silence program episodes that you've missed. With a few simple clicks, relive the deep conversations, the fascinating topics, the laughter, and the thrills that only Breaking the Silence can provide. You can satisfy that itch for more at watch.ulfn.org/Breaking the Silence. Our easy-to-use interface enables you to choose which of your favorite episodes to watch at your convenience. Breaking the Silence, a woman's talk show to inspire and motivate. Get ready for a journey of empowerment, inspiration, and unfiltered conversations. Welcome to Breaking the Silence.
Breaking the Silence is where ripples become waves of change. Sometimes all it takes is a conversation.
Are you guys ready to explore the world? I know I'm ready. Francisca's definitely ready because she loves to travel all over
Her luggage
the
is
place.
ready.
Yeah, I got my jet
right
already.
near the
My
door.
jet is outside.
Yeah,
already.
goodness,
it's
you
ready
see?
outside.
She's already
Prague,
ready.
Here I
Well, do you guys know which place we're going to be exploring today?
Where are we going?
It is called Prague. Let's explore Prague.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
This place here is beautiful. It is wonderful. But you know what? Safety first. We all know when it comes to traveling, you always want to, you know, educate yourself a little bit. You want to be able to know, you know, safety tips, guidelines, you know, and Prague is generally safe for all travelers, but be mindful of belongings as always. Learn a few basic Czech phrases. I wish I knew some Czech phrases right now. You know, public transport is efficient, affordable, you know, and consider walking around. You know, I don't mind walking around whenever I travel and stuff.
Walk,
That's one
just
thing I
explore.
definitely like to do. Walk to restaurants to eat, to try the foods,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so many wonderful,
To make
wonderful
sure
things.
you have comfortable walking shoes.
Yes.
Whenever you go, because you're definitely gonna need them. You want the cute outfit, but if you need the cute shoes, put them in your bag and only wear them for the pictures, and then keep the
And then
comfortable
the
shoes.
comfortable
There you
right?
go.
And
Yeah.
they don't always. It's not always like a smooth walkway.
Right.
Either. Sometimes
Yeah.
they have cobblestone and stuff like that. You
Yeah.
don't want to be walking
But
in
it's so beautiful.
high
Look at
heels
that.
there.
So
It's
beautiful.
absolutely beautiful.
It is
And
amazing.
so some of the must-see attractions there in Prague is the Prague Castle. This is a historic complex to Saint Cathedral, Golden Lane, and breathtaking views.
It
Look
is
at that. That is
breathtaking.
absolutely beautiful. And that's something we don't get to see very often at all anymore. And the Charles Bridge, the Old Town Square, and the Jewish quarters. These are all different places for you to go see, sightseeing places, and just to take in all of the beauty.
Yeah.
Look at it. It's absolutely beautiful.
Look at
to be able to walk there and you see
beautiful.
the bridge.
Look at that, it's a
Oh,
clock.
there's the
that.
clock.
Yeah, it's really astronomical. I can
And these
see.
are nice scenery, especially for those who like to take pictures, who love to
Yeah.
take pictures. These
And
are
the
all
architect
beautiful.
work is
stunning.
But also
Beautiful
make
and
sure to
wonderful
get
scenes.
a tour guide, you know, so that you can.
Oh, yeah.
You will be able to really soak in the experience, because you don't want to just be there and then
Yeah.
you know trying to figure out what to do. You need to already be prepared on itinerary. Have a list of where to go.
And
when you have a
sometimes
tour,
like, you're
it's
looking
Yeah,
at this
that is
beautiful
Yeah, and
building,
you don't even know
and
what
you're
the
like,
history.
wow, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful, and you have no clue what you're
Uh-huh.
looking
Yeah,
at.
it's-
Yeah.
You just know it's like beautiful and big. It must be important, but
Yeah.
you don't know.
I don't know
the
the history
about
behind
that.
it. So
Look at
make
that
sure you do
building.
So
that.
nice and beautiful.
It is
Yeah, look at
absolutely
that.
stunning.
Oh my goodness.
But we also have other stuff, like if you're not into, just admiring all these beautiful cities and
Architect-
every
The architect work.
yeah, architecture, then we also have the Petrin Hill. So you can, if you're somebody who loves nature, you can take a walk there. You can
Yeah.
you can see. Look at that. You can enjoy the breathtaking panoramic city views from the top of actually Petrin Hill. So from the top, you'll see the view of the city, and then the
must be so
Eiffel
beautiful.
Tower as well. A miniature. Look at that. It's right over there. It's a miniature of Eiffel Tower. And then it's gonna give you like more inspiration. Maybe later on, you're gonna hop in there to actually go to Paris.
And then we do have the Lenin Wall. Yes, the Lenin Wall, a vibrant display of graffiti and messages of peace, is a must-see for any visitor.
yeah,
This
it's really
is
creative.
nice. Whoa, look at this place
Wow.
here.
That must be the library.
Yes, the Strahov
Monastery.
Monastery,
Yeah,
Monastery Library.
Look at that.
Look at
Beautiful.
that.
Look at
all
this
of
right
this.
here.
Yes.
Oh my
That is
goodness.
something
Of
that you do
course,
not
food.
find.
Yes,
Oh,
this
yes.
here would be my
Foodies
favorite
out
thing
there, yes,
here.
you know.
Food
The great
is essential no matter
restaurants.
where you go.
I know.
You got to eat the food.
I know,
Yeah.
100%. But it's
looks
also good to
delicious.
look up as well the best places, the best restaurants that you can go and visit as well. That way you can be able to experience the fullness of it. Bakery, yes.
They got a lot of sweet pastry, goulash, is it called goulash? This one, I don't know how to pronounce Delnik, but
looks amazing.
they have a lot of creamy sauce and dumplings, beef stew, a lot of things that you
Sold
need to
me
try.
on the bread and bakery.
Yeah.
But they even do have a nice nightlife there. So if you're into the nightlife, you like
Yeah.
to go and explore the city at night, they have boats that will go down, play live music, and they have different pubs. So it is a very nice night scene there. You can be able to go.
Whether you're a
Very,
morning
very
person
nice.
or a
Yes.
night person, you
There
got
you
best
go.
of both worlds. Yeah.
So listen, I know Francisca got her suitcase ready.
She's
ready
gonna book
for
her
Prague.
I
ticket.
already got my jet ready.
You're gonna
What you
book-
mean? I'm
She's got
going.
jet. Not just suitcase. She
No,
got
no,
her
no,
jet
I got
ready.
my jet.
There's
Yes.
so many wonderful and beautiful things and sightseeing that you can experience there at Prague. So if you want to travel, you making plans to see something new and different, you can definitely look at this because the cafe. Listen, those of you who are coffee lovers as well, like me
Oh, yes.
and
Coffee,
Francisca,
coffee.
let me tell you, this is the
nice,
place
it's
to be where you can be able to
Yeah.
try the different coffees, lattes, all of these great
Oh,
things.
look at the
that.
lounges.
It is nice and
Wow.
amazing for you to just be able to wind down, you to be able to have a good time, to relax your mind because you're going to be traveling. You're going to be experiencing something new and different. So you need to soak it in. You need that time to soak in all of the wonderful things that you can experience. So listen, if traveling is there on your next thing on the to-do list, hey, you might want to consider this as well. It is definitely a beautiful place to go. Don't you guys agree?
I agree.
Yes,
I agree.
definitely. It's
I would
very
love
cool.
to be in one of those cafes and drinking the
I know.
coffee.
Yes,
And just
definitely.
taking
And you can
in the
just enjoy
scenery
the
all
music.
around.
Definitely.
Yes.
So that was us taking you to a wonderful, wonderful place, Prague. I hope you guys enjoyed it and make your plans to go there because I think I will too.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm
All
going
right.
now. I'm going now.
All right, so that's all we have for this segment. We're gonna cut into a quick break and we'll be right back.
Stronger together. Breaking the Silence is your community for support and inspiration.
You are watching Breaking the Silence.
All right, we are back here on Breaking the Silence, and it is a pleasure, a great, great pleasure to have Shavona Warmington here on Breaking the Silence. Hello, Shavona, how are you?
Hello,
It
I'm
is-
fine. How are you guys? Good
Good,
morning.
good. It is a pleasure to have you here on the show. And you are the CEO, the founder of Ladies of Lavender. So I wanna get a little backstory. How did you start off with Ladies of Lavender? What made you start it up?
I was pushed to start this because I'm a survivor of 7 years of domestic violence. And I realized that when it comes to abuse and violence, to escape is always the biggest question. How do I get out? Who can help me get out? So what I decided to do was put together an emergency transport system which would assist victims of domestic violence, rape, and sexual assault to get out of their place of violence and into safe havens.
Okay, all right. And you also have you've come from that as well, from domestic violence. Tell us a little bit about it. Tell us a little bit about your story. We want to get to know you a little bit better because I know that there's so many that are watching us that perhaps are going through the same thing as well, and they want to be able to overcome it. They want to be able to get out of that situation, which is not an easy situation to be in. So what is your story? How were you able to get out of a situation like that?
So it takes a lot of planning. I can say that that's the question a lot of people ask survivors
Yeah.
is what made you stay? Why didn't you just leave? It's more than just picking up and going.
Right.
A lot of the percentage of victims or survivors, they're either, for the victims, they never made it out because they were killed on attempt. That's the most dangerous time to leave. And that time when I was leaving, I was pregnant. So that made me more vulnerable. And the ones who did survive can tell you that it was definitely something they had to sit down and plan with accuracy. Who's going to have emergency clothing? What's going to happen with my kids? How am I going to make it? When can I leave that won't hinder me? So unfortunately, when I tried to escape, I literally just walked out the house. I was like, it's him or me. And he ran it from behind and knocked me down to the ground. So my vision on this side of my face is altered. And it went from there. I said I had to get out. I was pregnant with my daughter. I couldn't bring my daughter into that situation. And being that I was pregnant, that was my extra push. I had to do it for her. So that made me find any way, kicking, screaming, calling attention until I was able to get away from my abuser.
See.
And after that, it must have been really difficult, right? Just trying to leave. And when you were able to actually do it, how was the recovery like for you? Because now you're pregnant with your daughter, you have kids. So how was it like for you, having to heal from that traumatic incident?
So I can safely say I'm still going through. I escaped him physically, but because we have a child together, I still had to deal with that process. So getting away from him physically, it was getting my face to recover, dealing with the soreness from other parts of my body where I was kicked, punched, everything, and getting myself to look at myself again, to become myself again, the mental repair, the spiritual repair, the emotional repair. Now with my daughter, who's now 12, we have to go through court, or I'm forced to see him for a child visitation exchange, or if he feels like he wants to modify an order to be petty, or he's using different agencies to track where I am because where I live, my address is confidential. He'll use agencies like ACS to track me. So I have to deal with that part of it. So it's different steps to the healing. He can't get to me directly, so he used my daughter. So now I have to go into mom mode and figure out how to heal in that regard.
And that's really difficult because it's when you're being abused, you're in an abusive relationship, but you don't have ties to that person, you don't have kids, you don't really have to deal with them. Once you have escaped, the healing process is a little bit easier. You're able to heal, you don't have to see them, you don't have to hear their voice, and so you're able to move on from that. But you don't have that same luxury. Now you have a child with him, as you were saying, you've had to be in custody battles with him, so you have to see him, you have to hear his voice, and all those things can be very triggering for somebody who's been in domestic violence situations. So can you just talk about your healing, what it's been like for you to heal? Because often we hear about these survivors of domestic violence and we just hear that they've got out and now they're doing better, their life has been restored. But we need to really dive more into like what that healing process looks like for you, like what that journey was from surviving it to where you are now.
It's an ugly process. It's raw. It's gut-wrenching. A lot of times I find myself self-blaming because like, why didn't I know better? But at the same time, you don't know what something feels like until you endured it. So I give myself grace. A lot of therapy. A lot of breaking down the old self, renewing the new self. Taking time to forgive me, because that's something I learned I had to do. I was very angry, going through all the emotions. We do have flashbacks as survivors of what happened. There's certain things that trigger us. I'm learning not to give in to my triggers. I'm learning to accept what is, because at the end of the day, I survived and it wasn't in vain. So that's kind of why I pushed and did my nonprofit, because I feel like I'm going to heal more by helping other people. I heal by speaking about it. Knowing that I'm able to stop someone else from going down the road I went down, it gives me that Band-Aid over the wound.
And that's so true. Like you really do get healing by speaking about it. So many people think, oh, if I stay quiet on this situation, am I quiet? I'm going to be able to heal. I'm just going to push it down and push it down as though it never ever existed in my life. And that's my way of healing. But that is a false belief that so many people carry, that as long as they don't recognize it as something that happened to them, that means that they've healed from it. But really, when you speak about it, when you're honest about it, when you have to go through therapy and relive these situations, that is what gives you the power back. And something that you said that really stuck with me was that you had to learn to forgive yourself, because in these domestic violence situations, a lot of the times the abuser is the one that makes the one that is being abused feel that they somehow deserve this abuse, that somehow they have brought it on, or that their actions or their attitude or not doing what they were supposed to do somehow cause this action of this abuse to continue. And so I want you to just talk a little bit more about that and how it is that you were able to go through that process of forgiving, and maybe give an example or a tip to somebody who's also going through this. I know there's so many people, unfortunately, go through domestic violence, but they hold on to that belief that they have somehow caused this among themselves.
So I made myself start to really look at myself. I mean, people look at themselves all day in a mirror, but as a survivor from my experience, I avoided my mirrors. I avoided looking at my face, because even looking at the camera and seeing my image there, I still see my scars. Even though you guys can't see it, I know it's there. So I've learned to look at it like a war scar of sorts. Like, I pushed through, I got here, so what's next? I had to rebuild friendships that were destroyed. I had to rebuild connections with a family that, unfortunately, because of him, I had to separate from my family. I had to isolate. It was forced isolation. And what he would do is paint himself in a way where if I was to say something to them, they wouldn't believe. Or whatever he told them, they'd come against me. So I had to rebuild those bridges. I had to teach myself that I'm able to do what I was doing before. I can go out and finish school. I can maintain careers I'm holding. I can be a great mom. I'm not the ugly things that he said about me or he's portrayed me to be to the public. I had to rewire my brain of sorts. Because once they get into your head and start giving you the negative, they start feeding that to you and you're already broken down anyway. Those cracks get filled with what they put in there. So now we have to heal from that. The mental and emotional damage is sometimes greater than the physical.
Yeah, and that
yes.
takes a lot of, healing, right? From physical, as you've mentioned, in all aspects. And plus your daughter, right? You raised your child. So how was it for you having to heal from your own trauma, having to deal with all of this physical, emotional toll? And now you have a child that you have to raise. So how was it for you having to raise your child? And now she's 12, but how was it for you, your first steps of healing in that journey? What was hard? What was, easier? And how you were able to work it out?
So I started a group called Mothering While Mending for mothers like myself who survive certain things, and we also have to share a child with said abuser. And it's really hard for me because my daughter looks just like her dad. Dead stamp, all I did was birth her. So I started listing all the things that I know triggered me. I started listing the things that my daughter does that'll put me into a mental space where it's like, I really don't want to deal with this. Things that her dad will say or do, or use her as a pawn to get a rise out of me. And when I sit down and look at the things I wrote down, now I'm writing, how can we either avoid reacting to this, or if we have to deal with it face on, how do we tolerate, how do we move forward? And when I sit with other moms, we draft up ideas, we talk about different situations we've all experienced, and it's like we learn to heal together. How to become better mothers. How to listen to our children without bleeding on our children, not to be their abuser. We don't want to take out our anger on our kids because of the fact that their fathers, or in some cases the mothers, have done something to us. We want to be neutral default parents. So that's what I started doing.
Okay, wow. And there's two terms that I want to ask you about because they might be unfamiliar terms to many people. For example, myself, there's abuse by proxy, and then there's also agency abuse. Can you shed some light on it? Can you explain what those two terms
abuse
are?
by proxy is abuse by a third party. So they'll go to NYPD and make false reports, or in his case, he'll bring them to my house to bring me outside, so now he has full contact. Family court. It's a neutral ground, that's what they think, but it's really not, because now we're in an open playing field where if he really wanted to attack me, he could. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's probably going to be too late. By use of ACS, where he'll call child services and make a false allegation of abuse. So now they are able to come into my house for 90 days, and I hate to say it, they'll antagonize, because it makes the situation worse. They go back and forth between my house and his house. A lot of times he'll never be home, so they never even go into his house. And it's just a way to get under my skin. Now with agency abuse, unfortunately, when you go through these situations, we know to go to NYPD. We're in New York, so we go to NYPD and we'll say this was happening. A lot of the times the officers will decide that they feel like making a report. And if the officer is also an abusive individual, What they deem as abusive isn't going to link to abusive to us. What we say is happening to us, they may brush it off like, oh, it's a little spat. They may not do the report. They may show up and side with the abuser. I've had situations when I went to family court where the judge would laugh at me and say, well, he didn't kill you yet. Or I didn't have any physical bruises, so they didn't care about the verbal threats. I was never given an order of protection. We've had cases where some ACS workers would come in and they'd already have their own predetermination of the situation. Well, why don't you just give the child to the dad? And that wasn't for you to do. That wasn't for you to just offer. Your job is to investigate and see what's really happening and then give a report to the court. So we go through things like that on both ends, abuse by proxy and agency abuse.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're talking about this because I think that this is something that is not talked about enough. You just hear about the physical abuse or the emotional abuse, but what you're talking about is so common for the other party to be doing, just to be able to continue to inflict abuse, to inflict emotional turmoil, everything on that individual that they're not able to physically abuse any longer. They find other ways, and unfortunately kids are the ones that are getting mixed up in the middle of these disputes and arguments. But earlier you were mentioning the escape plan. You were mentioning how you just had to leave, you had to get out of there, but having an escape plan is so important when it comes to leaving abusive situations and putting one in place so that when you leave you have somewhere to go. Can you talk about how important that planning is for somebody to survive domestic violence?
It's dire. You need to have a plan and plan it to completion. Don't just say, I'm going to go to the store and wait for a ride. So, of course, you need to know where you're going. If there's kids involved, how are you going to get there? If you're disabled, how are you going to get there? Even if it's just you, you may not be able to enter the public calmly as you were before because once they get into your head and start abusing you, it's like shell shock. You can't operate outside the way that you were operating before the abuse. So you're afraid to walk around. You're afraid this person's going to be behind you. You want to be safely moved from A to B. Plan that. Organizations like mine, we do transport you. If you feel like you can't reach out to my organization per se, you could always reach out to NYPD to send a DV officer. Request a domestic violence officer. I'm not sure if Safe Horizon has linked up yet to even do transport, but do reach out to them and sometimes they'll be able to link you with somebody who can move you. Vital documents. If you cannot get your documents, leave them. You can always get copies. If you're able to take pictures and email them to yourself, do so. Communicate with your doctors. Let them know what's going on. Keep a trail. Everything you say can be documented. So if you got to talk to your pastor, talk to your physicians, talk to your nail tech, the guy at the store, let somebody know because if something happens, no one has a clue because you didn't speak. You need to talk to somebody or somebody's so people know what's happening and they can assist you. Wow. Emergency clothing is always something you can get. If you can't move with your clothes, my organization, we collect and we keep clothes on hand in case we have to drop off to an emergency site. Or if we're moving you, just let me know your size, we'll pack a bag and we're good to go. Our mission right now is to get you to a safe haven and make sure you survive. All the other materialistic things, forget about it. You and your kids, in some cases, your pets, get you out and we'll have to do it.
Wow.
Man, that's so
and there's
important.
so much information. Listen, we are not done, Shavona. We do have to cut into a quick break. For those of you who are watching, you can relate, you want to reach out, you can feel free to do so. If you have any questions for Shavona as well, you can feel free to send them in. But we're gonna go into a quick break and then we will be back with Shavona as she is giving us so many great information for those who might be going through situations like this. All right, so don't go anywhere. After this break, we'll be right back.
Empowered women, empowering conversations. Stay with us on Breaking the Silence as we inspire and uplift each other.
Be inspired, uplifted, and entertained on LFN.
You are watching Breaking the Silence.
We are back here on Breaking the Silence with our very special guest, Shavona. Now, Shavona, I have two questions for you. The first one, and before the break, you did mention about like parenting, co-parenting, when the other person is abusive. How did you create, or how were you able to create a safe space for you and for your children, for your daughter, in a situation like this? Because I know, it is a difficult situation, and at the same time, there's so many things that kind of hinders you from just getting up and just keeping her away. It's not possible. How was it that you were able to create a safe space for you and for your daughter while you're co-parenting with an abusive person?
So I'm a firm believer in letting the court set grounds for things like this when you have to co-parent and it's an abuser.
Yeah.
I have my paperwork set where he cannot talk to me. He can only text me, and whatever he has to say has to fit in that text box. Cannot put me on speaker with a third party. Can't talk through my daughter. If I'm in front of the officer, you can't talk to me there. The officer is not allowed to break the court orders. They have to uphold the laws. We exchange at the precinct. So if anything happens, there's already officers in sight.
Okay.
So that prevents any chance of any physical altercation.
Okay.
Where we live, I went through a program that protects domestic violence survivors where they push you into safe areas to live and they keep your address confidential. So she's far from the place where the abuse started. She has her own living space. I've created a safe space in the home. So if she feels like she's triggered by anything, or she goes on a visit with dad and she comes back and she's overwhelmed for whatever was said, I don't even push her to say anything. You can go into your space and decompress. She's allowed to talk to me about any and everything. Once you cross the threshold of home, you're safe here. There's no judgment here, no repercussions here. Whatever you need to say, unload. Me being the parent, I'll carry it. When dealing with a child with an abuser, unfortunately, sometimes the child is a pawn and they'll have to hear things the other party says. They got to deal with their attitudes because now they can't deal with you. So you have to prepare yourself for what may come from that. There may be chances where the anger may get taken out on the child. So as the other side, I got to gear up for what may happen at the end of the visit. I read her body language. I read her face. If I know that she keeps looking back behind her, I know something happened. So when I get to the car, get a few minutes off, do you want to talk to me? Is something wrong? Should I go back and let you talk to the officer? I don't want to say I spoil her more than my other kids, but I give her a little more room because she's growing while I'm dealing. She is my DV child. So unfortunately, she understands what took place. She grew and she heard, and she understands that mom and dad aren't together because of this. And she's asked questions, and I tell her, listen, it's not your fault. Unfortunately, she does blame herself. And I let her know you weren't even here yet. You are still baking. There's nothing you could do to have stopped this or caused this. At the end of the day, I love you. I'm going to protect you and make sure you don't have to go down this path. I'm going to teach what I can teach you. Take notes, study what I'm doing, and try to avoid it. And don't let your daddy break you. Because there are times where he'll say certain things to her that I know he said to me. And I have to reword it for her. So now she won't fall into that gap of, if I could take it from him, it's love. That's not love. Abuse does come verbally. So yeah, it's hard, but it's doable. And I had to go down that road, and now I'm learning how I can help other mothers the way I learned
Yeah,
and give
so
suggestions of what they could do.
talking about that, helping other women, helping other mothers, because now you've created a space and constantly creating that safe space for your daughter and your other children. How about those women who are just, their first steps of this healing journey? They don't know anything. They're overwhelmed with everything, the abuse, overwhelmed with the feelings. What is like the key step or an advice that you would give them trying to create that safe space for their children, their son, their daughter, who's going through this as well? And, they're healing, they're broken, but also they want their children to be in a safe space as well.
So I encourage them to relieve. That's one thing I tell them. I know some people have their stigma and their image with domestic violence shelters. I look at domestic violence shelters as a form of rehabilitation, because now you're removed from the abusive space into a pure space where now you have no choice but to start over. It's a clean slate. And you need that. You need that space to break down and cry. You need that space to get all the anger out. You can have therapists on site where you can talk to them. You have counselors. Rebuilding of self is something you need, is crucial. Because once you leave that tier one, you're going to a tier two. And now you're on your own. You're in a space that's mimicking an apartment. You have to go to work. You have to find a way to provide for you, yourself, and or your children. And they're looking to see how you're going to fare when you leave that tier two and enter the real world. I definitely tell them if you can't get into a shelter, do you have family that you consider safe? Even if they're not in New York, we can transport you out. We can get you to where you can heal. Healing is something you need, and it's more than just external, internal. And it takes a lot of time. You're going to need a village. You need a support system. You cannot do this on your own. I feel like I'm pretty strong, and I still had to seek help from therapists. I had to bounce on my mom and say, hey, I need you to uplift me. Even though you don't understand what I'm going through, I need that support from you, from my siblings, from my friends, my other half. Even now, as I'm still going through the healing process, I'm glad to have my support system in my village because it's something you cannot walk this road solo. Because you will fall. And you're going to need somebody to pick you up.
So for all of those who haven't really experienced domestic violence, they just hear about it in the news. They might hear somebody experiencing it far off. They've never really experienced it. They might have a misconstrued idea of what domestic violence is, mostly what movies like to portray as domestic violence. And I know that we've touched briefly a little bit about the different misconceptions, but can you give a little bit more detail on misconceptions that people have towards domestic violence and maybe things that you can look out for that aren't as in your face? They're very subtle, and a lot of the times those signs are subtle at the beginning, but can be red flags to prevent future things from happening in those relationships or in other relationships that they have with other people.
What I will say to those listening and watching, don't just assume because they know that it's happening that it's easier for them to get out. It's not. It's not just a simple open the door and leave. A lot of times the survivors have to go back because they're afraid of what's out there. They're so used to being in that situation that the whole new start thing terrifies them. How am I going to survive with no money? This person's taking care of me. The financial abuse. How will I survive out there with no protection? Some women, they need protection. They've been raised that they must be protected by a man. I'm not going to knock out anybody who was raised up, but that's just how some think. And now they have nobody to guard them. They're afraid to be alone in the world by themselves. If there's children involved, of course, there's a stress. How do I feed myself and the kids? How do I maintain myself and the kids? They're going to need assistance. Domestic violence is more than just bruising. It could be financial, as I said. It could be sexual. It could be religious. It could be mental. It could be isolation, gaslighting. Excuse me. It comes in many faces. And if you notice you have somebody who's usually outgoing, no longer being that person, when you notice changes in behavior, changes in their eating habits, if you don't see them as much, if the way that they dress has changed, and it's not because they wanted to change it, if you move too quick, like you're reaching to hug them and they start pulling back or they jump or they flinch, definitely take note to these things and be that open ear. Sometimes it's easier to know that someone's listening and watching and I can reach out to that person when ready versus the person that's going to run in there guns blazing trying to save that person. It's not as easy as you think. You can't just remove them. Even when I get the calls, the first thing I'm going to ask, are you ready? Now I'm taking all your information so we can track you. But are you ready is a key question. Because if they're not, and we try to go in there, that puts everybody at risk. We've lost 2 people on the team already because of somebody who thought they were ready, and she was, but he wasn't. And we unfortunately had to bury them. It's a cycle. A lot of times the survivors will get out and then they go back for whatever reason and they're stuck there. The honeymoon phase, of course, they think it'll never happen again. To those going through it, don't believe it. If they do it one time, it can and will happen again. And that next time you may not be able to break from. Make sure that you leave a paper trail. If you have to go to the doctor for anything, let them know this is what happened. Don't hide it. Don't say, oh, I fell down the stairs. I was hit by such and such. You have to leave something. There's laws that's been passed now where if God forbid something happens, that flag goes up that this person's a victim of abuse or sexual assault or rape. There's different things you can make known to certain people so they know to watch you.
And it's
Right.
those pretty
Yeah.
words that they say, oh, I'm so sorry. It won't ever happen again. You know, I didn't mean to do that to you. You know, I love you. I'm going to change. Things are different. It's those beautiful words that sound so good in the moment. And for the person who loves that person, they want to hear those promises. But those promises are a trap, even though the abuser might mean it in the moment. But when they get upset, when you look at the wrong person, when you say something the wrong way, when you don't do what they want you to do, then that ugliness comes out. And so I think
Sometimes
it's,
all you have to do is breathe. You just
Yeah.
woke up. That's
exactly.
it.
And then they
But
say,
the
why are
thing
you
that you need
breathing
to
that
say
way?
is, you can love them all day long, but do you love you? Do
Exactly.
you love yourself? How much do you love yourself? If you have children, do you love them enough to lose them? Because if it's proven where you know you're in an abusive situation and you have kids and you did nothing to protect those kids and you cannot protect those kids, you cannot protect yourself, they're going to help you. They're going to take those kids off your hands. The state will assist you in that manner. You have to do what's right by yourself and the children if you have them and get out of these situations. If nothing else, let that be the reason that you up and go.
You know, a lot of times people talk about the physical aspect of domestic violence, but I don't feel that it's talked about enough. The emotional toll that it takes on a person, like, because I feel that it kind of like strips you from everything. It strips the peace, it strips the joy, it strips the confidence, it strips the self-esteem. It just strips everything from a person. What are some tips that you can give to ladies who are watching that they want to get back on track? They want to be able to kind of breathe, take that sigh of like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be fine. I am going to make it. I am going to push. They want to be able to smile again, not only for themselves, but for their children as well, because they know what their children has had to endure as well. Not only the mother, but the child as well. The emotional toll. Can you talk about the emotional toll?
So it's hard. I had to, as I said, forgive myself. I had to relearn myself. I had to love myself again. Because for a period of time, I hated myself. Like, how could I let this happen? I was so strong and I let somebody come in and break me down to nothing. I would definitely tell another person listening, get back to what you used to do. If cooking was your thing, get back in the kitchen. If strolling was your thing, if shopping was your thing, run up the cars. Get back to you. Take your children with you. Do a random escape day. Go to a theme park. Do things that bring you joy. If it's going to cost you your smile, it's too expensive. And that's just it. If it's going to cost your kids their happiness, it's too expensive. Focus on that. What can make you and your children happy? What will bring you joy that day? Anything entering your space that's going to bring your energy down, let it go. It's not worth it. If it's not going to build you or uplift you, you do not need it or them.
So what do
Things are
you
expensive enough in this world.
So what do you do that brings you joy when you have a bad day, when you're having a bad moment? What is the one thing that you turn to? What is the one thing that brings you
Makes you
joy?
feel grounded.
I'm a foodie. I love to cook. I love comfort food. I will get in that kitchen full spread. Bring your friends over. I tell my girls, invite your friends. I've had a day where I learned what a candy salad was. I didn't know there was such a thing. And I let them go crazy in the store, picking out whatever they wanted, whatever arts and crafts they came to, did nails, did hair, makeup. And just seeing my kids have fun, I was able to join in. So I was like a big kid again, reliving my childhood. I'm able to do that. Yeah, it's healing to us. Going outside in this random amusement park trips. Go to the aquarium if you have to, the botanical garden, finding joy in outside pleasures. Just strolling, knowing that you're able to breathe in and breathe out. Things like that.
That's great. How about a
I'll find
fun?
any little thing.
Oh, sorry. How about a fun tradition with your family? Since we're talking about the holiday season, you have any
Oh
fun
man,
traditions?
I don't even want to think about because Christmas is literally inhale, exhale away. And I have 6 children and they're hyped right now, except for my youngest one, they don't understand. All they can think about is what Santa's bringing, and I have to bring that. I gotta be Miss Claus. I gotta make sure the cookies are out. I gotta do the elf on the shelf, moving it around. I've learned being a mom, like you might hear my youngest one, he's with me. You learn to see these holidays so different. And when I think about what could have been if I would have stayed, I cherish these days so much more with my kids. Even if it's gonna cost me, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure they're happy. Seeing that they had that moment of peace
Yeah.
and they got to maintain their innocence, yeah, it's worth it. I'm looking forward to this Christmas and all the other holidays coming up. Easter's a big thing to me because I like to see them hunting for the eggs.
Yeah.
Our biggest holiday that we're looking forward to for us personally, I let my kids celebrate the traditionals that's out in the world, but when it comes to our religious ones, they're excited for Ramadan.
Okay.
Like that's a big thing for them.
Okay.
And I think most of my energy is more prep for that right now, even though it's a little ways away. I want that to be big for them too.
Okay.
But days like that, everything else is on standstill. How can we as a family cherish every moment that we have in these days? That's the focal.
Nice. And is there anything new coming up for Ladies of Lavender? Any plans that you guys
So
have?
I'm gonna redo a lot of my events. I had to revamp them because this past year I'm recovering from heart failure. So I had to take a break from everything and really just heal myself.
Right.
So we're gonna get back to our community baby showers. We're gonna get back to an event we used to hold called Pearl Tea, which is for miscarriage moms. We're gonna start doing events for the fathers. We're gonna have more mental health events for the children. We're gonna have more family and friend inclusive events so they know how to cope when someone they love has been taken away because of domestic violence, is currently being victimized by an abuser. How can they assist? How can they too heal? We're gonna teach a lot of financial independency programs. We're gonna teach a lot of the survivors how to start their own businesses, how to get their children to start businesses. The brighter side of the whole situation. We get to look at that glow on the outside of the dark cloud. We're showing them that there is life after abuse. There is a way to find love after abuse. Rebuilding of self. So this whole year coming up, I've been just writing down things I need to execute. That's on the itinerary. It's going to be a different view of Ladies of Lavender come 2025.
Awesome, awesome. That is great. And for those who want to reach out to you, they have questions, they want to know more about Ladies of Lavender, how can they reach you? How can they get in contact with you?
So I'm on Facebook, Ladies of Lavender INC. I'm on Instagram, ladies_of_lavender_inc. My email, ladiesoflavenderinc@gmail.com. I respond to all of those modes of contact. I haven't done the website because it's kind of hard to put pictures up and things like that when I'm the one that's moving people, or if I have other people that's in the business assisting on the moves. I don't want to put anybody on the line.
Right.
So we just stick to the social media handles for right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being with us and shedding light on domestic violence and so many things that it entails. And we're definitely going to need to have you here on the show. But thank you so much for being here with us. It was a pleasure to have you, and we definitely look forward in having you on the show again. All right?
Whenever you're ready. Thank you, ladies.
Definitely,
Thank you.
definitely. So those of you who have someone who is going through this, or maybe perhaps you're going through it yourself, and there's questions, you want to know the ins and outs on how you can be able to overcome a situation like this, and you want to be a survivor just like Shavona, you can feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to her as well. She will definitely be able to help you. But we're going to go on to a break, and we'll be right back.
Breaking the silence. Laughs. Fun. Real women, real talk. Stay tuned.
You are watching Breaking the Silence.
All right, we are back, and guys, Shavona was amazing.
No,
Everything that she shared, Shavona, thank you so much for being with us here on Breaking the Silence. You know, We just didn't have enough time. I had more questions for her, but we're definitely going to need to have her back here on the show. I hope this was very informative and helpful to many of you, to all of us, as a matter of fact, because, you know, there might come a time where you might have someone that is going through that, or you probably going through that as well, through domestic violence and all of these things, which is not a pleasant situation to be in.
No.
So it's always good to be in the know and to educate ourselves.
And don't ever think it can't happen to me.
That is so true.
Because so many people are sitting in that situation saying, hey, this is not going to happen to me.
Exactly.
I know my partner would never do that to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that kind of abuse.
Right.
You never know what you're going to take
true.
until it happens, and it doesn't just happen overnight. It happens gradually
And subtly.
So make sure that you are informing yourself and definitely get the knowledge.
Definitely.
And watch out for red flags.
Yes.
There you go. All right, so for those of you who missed our question of the day towards the beginning of the show, here it is for you. What dream or goal did you press pause on this year? And how are you feeling about picking it back up in 2025? We do have our wonderful people who sent in their comments. Let us go to that first comment. It's from Burson. Told myself I was going to read 50 books this year. Girl, I think I need to bump it down. Yes, yes you do. Yes, you do.
Realistic, right? Realistic goal.
I think you got a little bit excited there with the 50. I don't
And
know
plus
about reading
with a
50
with a
books.
trial there, so
Definitely
the
bump it
ways
down.
up.
I think 10 is still a little bit too much.
Yeah,
You know what?
10 is very
Okay.
pushing. Let's just
All right,
start at
no
2.
problem.
All right. Or one.
We gotta
or
hit the
maybe
bar
one.
low there.
Person.
Got to make sure we hit our goals.
Yeah.
All right, let's see the next
Oh
comment. Pansy. I wanted to try running a marathon this year, but had some family stuff come up and had to stop training. I'll definitely try next year.
All right.
Okay.
You know, I'm
That's
trying
cool.
to get into that, but you
Wow.
know, a certain someone shut my dream down because it's not
That certain
just about
someone is
just
who?
going and running. Like, it entails a lot of stuff, and I was just like, okay, you know what? You just discouraged me. But
Being
that
fit,
is-
being
yeah.
able to breathe,
Yeah.
Yes.
not having pain in your body.
Right.
Yes.
All
yes.
these things work against you.
I would
right?
like to pick that up, though. I would like to do that. I would like to run
watch
a marathon
you.
one
But,
day.
yeah, we're just gonna be cheering
I'll
on
be
her.
watching you.
Okay, no, let's go.
As I'm in my chair drinking my coffee.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, our next
Okay.
one is coming from Adrian. I had to press pause on the novel I had told myself I would finish by the end of 2024. Excited to start writing again, though.
Yes.
Great
Yes,
for you,
yes,
Adrian.
yes.
Yeah.
Adrian, look.
Definitely finish
Sometimes
that.
you need a break.
Exactly. Sometimes you need a break, or you probably don't make it to that deadline that you had set for yourself,
Yes.
but that's okay. You know, you have to redirect yourself, but pick it back up, keep going, keep pushing. I like
1%
that.
better.
Yeah, definitely. Francisca,
Yes.
what about you? What you press pause on?
I think we all know.
Well, I
Okay.
mean,
She
I always
pressed
talk
pause
about
on all
working
the
out
snacks in
because
her drawers.
working out is a
Is it
struggle
gym?
for
Yes.
me. But that is not my pause.
Okay, what is your pause? So
You
Jim
don't want
is
to eat all my snacks. Quit over there laughing. She came and ate them today. If you want to know.
It was
the
So
amazing.
truth.
maybe you're gonna pause to put some snacks over there for 2025. What do you think?
Should I? No,
right.
I said that I was going to start reading at least an hour a day. And I was reading Atomic Habits.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you
But
did start
that,
it.
but
Your pause.
I paused it.
Okay.
And I'm having a struggle picking it back up. But in 2025, I'm going to finish the book and then I'm going to come back with new tips.
Okay. What about you?
For
What
me,
did you press pause on?
I'm struggling with this because I'm a foodie. I love rice, as you all know. So trying to struggle with veggies and a balanced meal. So I press pause on that a little bit. So maybe I'm gonna continue that in 2025, or maybe
Okay.
even today.
All right.
How about you?
I definitely put pause on exercising daily. I haven't been doing it daily. I've just been doing it maybe once a week.
Monthly?
Just
I
once
was
a week.
supposed to say
weekly?
Twice a month.
Yeah,
Twice a
once a
month.
week. So, you know, that's definitely I'm gonna pick it back up in
Yeah.
2025. But we thank you guys for sending in your comments. We do want to remind you of the King series.
Yes.
We want to remind you of the King series. It is a great, great watch. You can be able to watch it with your family Monday through Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern time if you can't catch it on the weekdays, definitely catch it on the weekends. You know, when you have your downtime and you can be able to relax watching Kings, all right? But that is all the time we have for today. We're going to have to say goodbye until next time. See y'all.
Bye.